You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
A week ago with the lowest in the area in Tuscaloosa County at 295. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for The Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Gary Harris Show for this Wednesday, July 3, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris, and we got I guess we gave you a preview of the show a while ago. Barry Sanderson called me and said what I was talking to Chase about a while ago was going out over the air. So that's okay, because I'm going to tell you what I got on top anyway. But we got a little bit of a preview there. We got Chase in here, still kind of learning the ropes a little bit, and glad to have Chase Brumfield with us. But we got had a little bit of conversation that we were having that went out over the air. So we'll just repeat it, Chase, because we didn't say anything that we don't want people to know. You probably heard me say that. Yes, I got back from a little mini vacation yesterday. I got into the TV station. Was full up yesterday with Tider Insider TV. Stu McCann, who does a great job for me, is out this week on vacation, so I was swamped there and did not get to do as much prep on my radio show as I usually like to do. So, therefore, we don't have the guest lineup that we normally have. But we do have a guest lined up for 9:30 with Matt Coulter on NASCAR. Matt, of course, sat in for me, and I'm working on a guest in the second hour that hopefully we can get as well. And so got a free preview of the show today. But glad to have you with us here on the Gary Harris Show. This hour being brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. If you want to find out more, go to alabamacu.com or, of course, go by and see them at one of their many locations around the great state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union. Loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. Okay, you heard me say it. We got Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. We're also going to visit with my friend Jeff Knox from the YMCA at 9:15 to talk about all the things they got going on this summer. And I'm working on a guest for the second hour that hopefully I'll hear back from, and we'll let you know about that if we get that booked for the hour number 2. Also, Wimp and Barry did a great interview this morning with Bobby Humphrey, former Alabama All-American running back, former NFL Rookie of the Year with the Denver Broncos, also played with the Miami Dolphins, and then his football career cut short when he had some substance abuse issues, but he came back with great life after football. Of course, 2 sons that played college football, including Marlon, who played at the University of Alabama and is now a Pro Bowl quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Wimp and Barry had a great conversation with Bobby Humphrey this morning, and we may replay that for you. Also, we had that audio yesterday that we were able to get from the Senior Bowl golf tournament. We played Kalen DeBoer. And we played Kane Womack yesterday, but we also got a little clip from Nate Oates and from D'Amico Ryans that we can get to this morning. If you want to call in and join us here on the program, you can do so on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904 is that number. We'd love for you to jump in with us here this morning and talk a little ball. All right, some topics that are making news. Of course, Alabama football recruiting is on a roll. I mean, there's no other way to say it. 21 commits now for the class of 2025. The latest coming yesterday in the form of an outstanding tight end prospect from out in El Dorado Hills, California at Oak Ridge High School. One thing about Caleb Edwards that I really, really like is that type of athleticism at his size. I mean, he is a guy that is 6'6", about 240 pounds, but he can really run for a guy his size. Very athletic, long-armed, looks like a basketball player, really. And this is a guy with the frame, like I said. He caught 44 balls for over 800 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. And he joins, listen to this list of California standouts. A lot of this has to do, of course, with Kalen DeBoer's West Coast ties, and the way that the Alabama staff is put together. Courtney Morgan, the GM. He joins fellow California standouts, offensive lineman Jackson Lloyd, linebacker Abdul Sanders, cornerback Chuck McDonald, and punter Alex Asperoff as Alabama commitments in the 2025 class. That's 5 commits from the state of California out of 21. Now, we know Nick Saban recruited California as well, but I don't know that he recruited it the way that Kalen DeBoer and this staff are recruiting the state of California right now. This is very impressive. Chase, you're from the Bay Area of California. Let me ask you this, and we were talking before we went on, and I said, do you go to Alabama? And you actually go to Mississippi State. So we'll continue our conversation. Are you living here this summer? Are you commuting over every morning? How are you handling working here at the radio station and going to Mississippi State?
So I actually moved in with my my girlfriend this month, actually, and there were some things I had to move around and everything. So I'm going to be living here in Tuscaloosa for the foreseeable future, and I'm just going to finish my online school. I'm a senior right now, so.
Big way to get things done now, isn't it, for everybody?
Yeah, I got to save money. Being a college kid, got stuff to pay for, so I'm just trying to take the smart route, especially for being an opportunity here in Tuscaloosa.
And your girlfriend's here?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go. So that works. All right, well, I wanted to ask you about the California aspect. Growing up out there with Nick Saban, what are you, 21?
I am 24.
Oh, 24, but still 24 years old. So you kind of were a little boy when Nick Saban came to Alabama, but as you got older, Nick Saban started to build that dynasty, and Alabama's influence, not just on college football in the South, but really all over the country and on the West Coast was so huge. When you started following sports, let's say you get on up into your teens, Alabama football, did it have an impact on you out there? Were you aware of it? Is it something that you followed and said, man, boy, Alabama is a dynasty? What was the impact of someone growing up there in the Bay Area of California with Alabama football?
It was amazing, honestly, just to see just how much of an impact Nick Saban had on not only me as a person, but just the sports in California. I don't think people understand how much Alabama football has an influence on the city of Los Angeles and Bay Area as well. Like just seeing the success of Nick Saban, just always on prime time. It was awesome. Especially I was so intrigued with him as a person, just seeing how he conducted interviews, how he kept his players in line during games and everything. So I think it was just one of those things that I just couldn't stop watching. And I just appreciate how much Nick Saban did for Alabama football and the university. And I, myself, and others from California, we really appreciate Nick Saban and what he did.
That's what I wanted to know, because that's the way that I followed it here as a sportscaster covering it. But I saw the impact that Alabama football and Nick Saban was having on the ability to recruit the West Coast, and some great players that have come from out there that played at Alabama. One that just jumped right in my mind is Najee Harris, but there have been, many others. So, and that continues now, obviously, with a coach and a staff that has strong West Coast ties. You're seeing Alabama going to California, and 5 commitments already from the Golden Bear State with the Crimson Tide. Caleb Edwards, the 4-star tight end, the latest coming yesterday. So Alabama recruiting continues to be on a roll. I didn't talk much about this yesterday, but I'm going to do it right now for just a moment. As you know, on this show, we talk about all kinds of sports. In addition to Alabama and college sports, we talk NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. And Bronny James getting drafted by the Lakers in the second round. I said last week on the show, I thought he would get drafted. I predicted it then. And I don't think it's a surprise at all that he got drafted by the Lakers and Rob Pelinka and J.J. Redick. They can say all they want about LeBron had nothing to do with that. Really? You really, really want us to believe that you drafted Bronny James? And I'm not saying you don't think he can become a player. That's not what I'm saying. But, Chase, let's just be honest. If LeBron James does not play with the Lakers, and if the Lakers were not wanting to get a new deal done with LeBron James, which they just did, it's breaking now on ESPN by Adrian Wojnarowski. We'll talk about that more. If there's no LeBron James in Los Angeles, I don't think the Lakers draft Bronny James.
I agree. I was telling Barry and Coach this a couple of days ago. I said, I don't think Brian would get drafted. If you look at his college career, minus the health scare he had, he just was not ready. I think if he would have stayed maybe one more year, I think we would have saw a different impact he will have this year. But I feel like if his name was like a different than Bronny, like James, how relevant that is. I don't see the Lakers, especially with JJ Redick and how many eyeballs is on him this year. I don't think he makes that move with the front office of Lakers.
I don't either. Now, like I said, I do think they feel like they can develop him, and I think that J.J. Redick made it clear. He said, this is going to be a developmental organization, and LeBron is going to be a guy that we're going to develop. So he's not putting any pressure on Bronny James. In fact, I don't think you'll see him play a ton as a rookie, but it is what it is, and LeBron James is one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA. In fact, he's the only player in the history of the league to score more than 40,000 points. He's going to turn 40 years old and this season. But the Lakers now, it's being reported by Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, one of the top NBA reporters, that LeBron has agreed to a new 2-year, $104 million maximum contract to return to the Lakers. The deal includes a player option for the 25-26 season and a no-trade clause. So, in other words, he's going to be with the Lakers for 2 more years unless he decides he doesn't want to be with the Lakers for 2 more years. They can't trade him. And this locks him up, and he is one of only 2 players in the NBA. How rare is a no-trade clause? Well, Bradley Beal of the Phoenix Suns is the only other player that has one. So those are very, very rare. But, of course, obviously, LeBron James is a very rare player. You're talking about a guy who is, as I said, going to turn 40 years old, but is the all-time leading scorer in the history of the NBA and is still, for this level of game, it's phenomenal what we're seeing from him. We've never seen a player at this age. We've seen players push this age and play, but not at this level. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now they're going to make history with the Lakers as he's going to play with his son. We've never seen that before, an active NBA player playing with his son. So LeBron James and Bronny James going to make some history. But again, I do believe that there's no way in the world the Lakers draft Bronny James in the second round if LeBron James isn't on that team. But he is. He's going to be there 2 more years. They've got his son. And I think it's pretty neat. And I do think it's going to, not that the Lakers need many more eyeballs. I mean, the Lakers are one of the premier franchises in the history of pro sports. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Cowboys, the Yankees, the Dodgers. Those type of teams is what we're talking about here. But to have LeBron and Bronny is pretty cool. All right, it's 9:14. We're going to take a break here on the Gary Harris Show. And we've got Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. As I said, your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. We'll take our
double whammy, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny, hot and humid today. A few spots could see a shower or storm this afternoon or this evening. The high today 96, the low tonight 75. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered storms around by afternoon. The high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
right, 9:17. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And it is an opportunity right now for me to visit with my friend Jeff Knox, CEO of the YMCA of Tuscaloosa. We talk about him all the time here on the show. And Jeff is going to join me. We're in the heart of summer right now. The 4th of July is tomorrow. And that means it's a happening time at the Y. Good morning, Jeff. How are you? Jeff, you there?
Hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. We got you now. Chase is still learning the ropes a little bit, but we got you. We got you ready to rock and roll. Good morning, Jeff. How's it going?
Going fine. Good morning.
Good to have you. As I said, the summer is a busy time, and it's a busy time at the Y. Tell us some of the programs and tell us some of the things you got going on at the YMCA right now for the summer.
Sure. We're, of course, right in the middle of summer camp. We just wrapped up our Swim to the Top program with the University of Alabama, but camp's running for the rest of the summer. Got about 100 kids on campus and having a great time.
Yeah, I think about, working out there. But as I said, the YMCA is a community organization, and you do have some great camps. And that sounds like that's one of the biggest ones.
It is. It was good. And, of course, we have our regular stuff that we've got always going on with our group exercises and personal training. But we also try to throw in a few fun things during the summer. Saturday, we had 12 teams compete in a cornhole tournament, which was something I think we'll keep going. Had some great prizes, and that was a lot of fun. But we do have some new stuff that we've launched this summer in regards to healthy living and a lot of the things that you might participate in. And that's we've started adding some small group training classes that really work on strength, balance, a healthy weight, all designed to improve daily living. And we've actually got one for a senior strength class that does the same thing. So, just looking for opportunities to try to positively impact people's overall, well-being.
Yeah, one thing I've been doing since I've been talking about the Y on the show for several years, obviously, is I like to say the Y is ready when you're ready for the Y. 2313th
right.
Street. You guys are there. You're not going anywhere. You got a state-of-the-art facility. You got great personal training. You got a great staff. You got fitness classes. You got spin classes. You got Silver Sneakers program. It all comes down to when somebody is ready. And when they're ready to take that step, again, I'm going to vouch for the Y, having been a member for over 20 years. And not that you can't go to another gym. I understand you can. Some people have the discipline even to do it at home. But I know this. When you are a member of the Y with a community of not just the people that work there, but the community of people that make up the membership that are like-minded individuals. I say it's a great social opportunity too. You're going to be more motivated, and there's going to be a much better opportunity for you to maybe get over the hump if you're a member of the Y rather than if you're trying to do it on your own, Jeff. I believe that. I preach that, and I think it's the truth.
It's absolutely the truth. When you have built-in accountability partners that know when you're not there, they say, they keep you on task, on your journey. And it's important to have that support.
There's no doubt about it. And you can build relationships. And then again, I mentioned the personal training. I'm an advocate for it, not because I can't do it on my own. I can, but when you're involved in personal training, like you said, you make an appointment, the trainer's going to be there, you're more apt to go, and they are going to get you past maybe where you've hit the wall in previous workout attempts. They're going to help push you where maybe you haven't been able to go. I'm a big advocate for it. I know you've got some of the best trainers in the city right there at the YMCA.
We do, and we're really proud of that group because sometimes, as you said, when you're working out, you need to just get over the hump, but everything that they do is going to be designed based on what your goal is. They're not going to tell you what it is. It's what do you want to get? Where do you want to be? We'll help you get there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Folks, check out the YMCA personal training if you're one of those people that are having trouble getting over the hump. You can find out more at ymcatuscaloosa.org. You can call Jeff and his staff at 205-345-9622 or just stop by and see them there at 2300 13th Street. They'll show you around. As I said, I've been a member for 20 years. I love it. I'll vouch for it. And Jeff and the crew down there do a great, great job. Jeff, go ahead and give them the hours of operation.
We are open from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the week and 6 o'clock on Saturday morning and 1 o'clock on Sunday. So come see us.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Have a great 4th.
All right, you too. Jeff Knox from the YMCA of Tuscaloosa. It's 9:23 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we'd love to hear from you this morning on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. 205-342-9904 is the number. And been a kind of a different morning this morning anyway. Now we're the power's flashing. The TV just went out. The lights went out here in the studio. Hopefully we're on the air, Chase. I'm telling you, the gremlins are getting after us this morning here on the program. I need some of my callers to help. I went off for a few days. I tell you what, 3 days is all I missed. I was out Thursday, Friday, and Monday. And I come back and it's like, wow, what's going on here? So we'd love to get some phone calls. Hey, I do want to mention Tim Anderson, who's I would call him a friend of mine. I've known him since he was in high school. A couple years ago, he came in here, did an hour with us in the studio, and he was one of the bright young stars in Major League Baseball just a short time ago. An American League batting champion. Hit .335 in 2019, an all-star. And it goes to show you that at professional sports, it's hard to stay at the top. And after a nice career with the White Sox, he signed a one-year deal with the Miami Marlins in the offseason for $5 million. And then yesterday was designated for assignment by the Marlins. What does that mean? Well, that means basically they are releasing him. He's 31 years old, which is, still not old by Major League Baseball standards, but certainly not spring chicken. When they signed him, Miami was hoping to get a bounce-back season from him. 1 year, $5 million, give you that opportunity. And if he had played well, then I'm sure they would have looked to have signed him to a longer-term contract. Instead, in his 65-game stint with the Marlins, he hit .214 in 234 bats with just 3 extra base hits. And he struggled some at shortstop defensively. So it is what it is. I mean, that's not the way you stay with your club. Now, again, at one time, he was one of the bright young stars in Major League Baseball. He batted over 300 4 consecutive years. And in 2019, as I said, hit .335 and won the American League batting title. So that is something that is really, really, really strong. But it's all about what he have done for me lately. And he just didn't get it done. So therefore, he's out of a job. And I'm hoping that there's a club that believes he still has a little gas in the tank. Maybe it's a contender that will give him a shot and see if he has an opportunity to play some more baseball. I liked him a lot. He's very charismatic. He's a great young man. As I said, played at Hillcrest High School, played at East Central Community College over in Decatur, Mississippi, was not highly recruited out of high school, had signed with UAB, but then wound up getting drafted and signed with the White Sox organization. And as I said, made a great run to the big leagues and had a great, great career with Chicago, made a lot of money, but I don't think he's ready for his baseball career to be over. So you're hopeful that he gets another opportunity at this level, but we will see. I'm going to continue to follow Tim Anderson. Hopefully, I may try to give this a few days to sink in with him. The one thing that Skip Schumacher, the manager, said that made this so difficult was it wasn't a situation where he wasn't working. It wasn't a situation where he was a negative in the clubhouse. Skip Schumacher said that he did everything great. He did everything positive. He did everything that he was asked to do, and he just did not produce on the field. So therefore, they made a decision to go ahead and go in a different direction with Tim Anderson, but hopefully he'll get another opportunity. All right, it's 9:28 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to visit with Matt Coulter on NASCAR, break down the race this past weekend, look ahead to the race coming up in
2024 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code 2024 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code 2024.
Roll Tide, the best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:30. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Bumgarner with you, and we're going to be joined now on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline by my friend Matt Coulter. Been working for the Talladega Super Speedway for a long time. He's our NASCAR go-to guy, of course, longtime Birmingham sportscaster, and now fill-in host for the Gary Harris Show. And Matt, first of all, let me say on the air, I really appreciate you sitting in for me for those 3 days and allowing me to take a little break. And man, I've talked to some people that said, man, Matt's awesome. People that weren't familiar with the fact that you helped break in sports radio in Birmingham, you kind of picked up a new audience, and they were like, man, Matt's really good. I said, well, he's only been doing it for, about 50 years. So,
well, what a compliment. And we talked a little bit on your way back, and I know you had a great time. You got your jets refueled. You're ready to go. You sound good. 4th of July, God bless America. Let's go. Let's talk some NASCAR.
Yeah, let's do. It's been a, I don't know any other way to say it. It's just been a crazy season. There's been so much, weather's certainly been a huge factor, and it was again at North Wilkesboro. And we've had, it's just been crazy. And I said North Wilkesboro, I meant Nashville, but it's might have been a factor in North Wilkesboro too. I can't remember, but with the All-Star race. But I know Joey Logano won that one too. I guess that's why it was on my mind. But we had it again in Nashville on Sunday. Overtimes, excitement, a little bit of drama. Logano not happy with Hamlin, but at the end, Joey Logano, who needed this victory in a bad way, he and his crew chief and his team, I don't know how they got that much out of one tank of gas, but that's what allowed them to win that race. They maximized their fuel, and he passed the post-race inspection because there were a lot of people out there, on social media chirping about Joey Logano's team cheated, but he didn't. And what a huge win for the 22 and for Penske, who now has all three of his cars guaranteed a playoff spot.
Well, it was a huge win. I've got my questions a little bit about getting into 5 overtimes, but that's for another show. It was a heck of a race, and you've got to really give credit to Logano and his driving skills to stay in the middle of the pack and save gas. Oftentimes, that slows you down. It was Denny Hamlin that commented that I don't know how he did it, and certainly he had a raised eyebrow, but he passed inspection. They were just able to do it when none of the other cars were able to do it. And a lot of that it all goes to crew chief and him telling Logano what to do, when to let up, particularly, when you're running under yellow late with those overtimes. It was a great race, and you're right, a huge win for Penske. I will note this on the weather. The guys at NBC took the blame. They said, ever since we've taken over, we've had a rain delay. So this one was an hour and 21 minutes, but worth waiting for Penske and the 22 Ford.
Well, it was a huge win for Joey Logano. And I think, again, it's a reminder that Joey Logano's elite. He is one of those guys. When we talk about Larson and we talk about Elliott and we talk about Hamlin, we got to talk about Logano. He's one of them. As you've pointed out to me before, his nickname coming out was Sliced Bread because he was the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, he was kind of groomed to do this. But he's another one of these guys, man, that he can win a fuel race. He can win a super speedway race. He can win a slick tires race. I mean, whatever the conditions are, weather race, short track, mile and a half track, super speedway. I mean, you put him on anything and he can get it done. And I think you and I just kept waiting to see if he was going to get that win to guarantee a spot on the in the playoff, or he's going to be stuck right there on the line. And he went ahead and took care of things. And again, I let's just say it like it was. I was I was at the beach, so I wasn't watching it as closely, but I was monitoring it. And the 22 team won that race, and he won it as a driver, as you said, conserving that fuel. I don't know, just based on what I was reading and following it. There was a lot of talk on social media. There was no way that he was going to be able to finish that race on that tank of gas, and they did it.
What did I read? 120 something, 111.
It was some number that people were saying it was 10 or 15 or 20 laps more than they should have been able to get. That's what I was reading.
It was, and guys that had pitted on the same lap that Logano did ran out in the first overtime and caused wrecks and caused caution. So you got to wonder, after that, they run 4 more, and he still had enough to get the victory. Well, no, let's not say he got the victory lane. He got to about half of his burnout.
Yeah, and he was out.
Yeah.
Oh, he said on the post-race interview, he said, listen, he was running out on that last lap. And it wasn't like he won this thing, by a long margin. I mean, he was fighting to hold off the field there at the end, running out of gas. It was a brilliant race for Logano, and a huge win, as we said, for the 22. So before we look ahead to Chicagoland, what's coming up there, what else did you take away from this race? I mean, obviously Tyler Reddick, who's had a strong year, was in position to win. I guess the biggest thing is that one of these teams that doesn't really have the ability to competed. Zane Smith got a second place finish, and I know you want to talk about that because you love it when these underdogs are able to get up there and have a chance for a checkered.
Well, I wasn't pulling for Logano to run out of gas, but maybe I wasn't pulling for him. Let's say that. I wanted Zane Smith to win the thing, and Ryan Preece, whose best finish ever was at Talladega a few years ago when he finished 4th or 5th. But he was in the race, too. And a lot of that was fuel mileage when they pitted. So, you had to have a little bit of good fortune there. But, yeah, I would have liked to have seen Zane Smith win. But, that guy won at the truck level. He's won at the Xfinity level where he's competing now on a full-time basis. This young guy's going to win some race despite the fact that he has the same name as one of the Braves pitchers back in the 80s. Do you remember Zane?
Zane Smith, remember him well. Crafty lefty.
Yeah. So anyway, I like it when some of the younger guys, some of the one-team bands get a chance to really compete. And they had a chance to win this thing. Logano could have shaken it through turn 3 wrong and run out of gas. But, man, what a skilled victory that was for him, as you just noted, and threw laurels in his direction. He certainly deserves them.
All right, so Logano punches his ticket. And for Team Penske, as we said, all 3 of their drivers are into the playoff. And, boy, I tell you, before we move on to the Chicago street race, you expect it from Logano and Blaney, but how big was that win for Cindric? Think about this. This is a guy, Cindric, who I know he won the Daytona 500, but he really has struggled this year. But he was able to –
He struggled at Nashville.
But he was able to pick up that win and get into the playoff, because otherwise his dad working for Penske or not, he might have been on the cut line. But now you're in the playoff. I guess you can't be cut, can you, Matt?
No, you really can't. Here's another thing to note as far as Nashville concerns before we move on to Chicago. That race was an absolute 100% sellout. And you could see it. They stayed through the rain. I think you'll remember I went there a couple of years ago when
you did,
Elliott won. And I love the track, and the view is spectacular. It is hot as you know what, but what do you expect? It's Tennessee in June. So kudos to Nashville. And they are now celebrating with the city and the music, and they're melting all this together, and it's just wonderful. Nashville's going to get bigger and better, and for those of us that are only a 4-hour drive from that track, we need to start going more.
Well, you do, and I want to go, and I hope that, as I said, as good as it was on Sunday afternoon, man, I think for a Saturday night that would be hot. I hope they'll consider in Nashville, man, running that race on a Saturday night would be unbelievable. All right, we go on and we go to what was last year a unique race, and it was unique in a lot of ways. They ran it through the streets of Chicago. We had some weather in that race, and we had a guy win who You and I just couldn't get over it. Shane Van Gisbergen, I got to remind me of this guy's name, from New Zealand, and I think that was his first ever NASCAR race, was it not, Matt?
It was. I'm like Fox and NBC and you and me. I just call him SVG. But, yeah, we do need to say his name right. But, yeah, he came out of nowhere to win, and I don't think it was really shocking too much that he won based on his Formula One experience, because they race in the rain and they race a lot of street courses. So, but he had the skill to win it. I'm not taking any. He had the experience in that. He just didn't have the experience in running a NASCAR. But he's to be credited, and I just looked up 2 different odds to win sites, and he was atop both of them. So we'll see, and hopefully, Chicago put a lot of effort into
They sure did
last year, and some of their music events and all, because it rained and it rained and it rained, and they didn't get a chance to really hit the home run. And I think this weekend they are going to knock it out of the park if the weather will allow, and we're going to see a heck of a street race. This isn't really a road course like we see at Watkins Glen that's designed for that. This is literally
running through the streets.
Through the streets around Grant Park. So that's very, very cool. And I think that I can feel your thoughts on this, that you're probably more okay with this than you are a regular road.
Yeah, I like this. And of course, I got caught up in the uniqueness of Van Gisbergen's victory, which is just, again, it was shocking. I mean, I don't care, what he's run in the past, to go out there in the Cup Series and win a race the first time out. I thought it was something special. And he had said after the race that, didn't he say at some point he wants to run NASCAR full time, or am I making that up?
No, he said exactly that.
Yep.
Your memory is clear. And what I think is kind of odd is that, teams can pick up drivers from time to time. And I think he has run one other race, a couple of races since his win in Chicago. But, yeah, I mean, I'd put him on my team just to race the street course.
Yeah.
The road course.
Well, last week I had Elliott and you had Larson, and Jeff Payton, our NASCAR stats guy, tells me that I've got the first pick this week. Yeah. And I guess it would be easy to pick Van Gisbergen, but I don't think that he's going to win. I don't think he's going back to back. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just looking at last year, and I'm looking, Justin Haley finished second, but I'm looking at guys that I think from the Sprint Cup, or not Sprint Cup anymore, just the Cup Series that are going to get it done. And I just mentioned the 2 guys that I think are prime candidates to win on Sunday. Elliott and Larson. I think, I know Kyle Busch ran real well last year. I think Logano had a decent run, but I'm going to stay with a 9. I'm going to stay with Elliott. He did break through this year after that miserable, forgettable season last year, but he's still not been Chase Elliott pre-snowboarding accident or whatever that was that happened last year, Matt. He still hadn't been that guy, but he's been better. And you may take the 5 because I think he'll be right there too. But I'm going to take the 9. I took him last week. He wasn't terrible. I'm just feeling Chase Elliott is going to get back to being Chase Elliott, and what better time to start than this Sunday in Chicago?
Well, he's always a good pick when you're racing anything with more than 4 turns.
That's right. Right, yeah.
He is a good pick. I think Larson and Hamlin are as well. But I'm going to go with a guy that's hotter than a branding iron, and he can handle the road courses, and that's Christopher Bell.
Yeah, it's a great pick.
It is a good pick, and I thought about going with SCG, but, there's just something. I think you were going through the same thing. There's something about winning twice on a street course and not having raced in NASCAR all that long. Now, we'll say that, and then turn around. The New Zealander will win it this weekend. But right now, I think I feel good about my pick. I'm going with Chris Bell.
All right, so you got Bell and I got Elliott, and on Sunday, hopefully we'll have a race that we can get through. It'll be dry in Chicago, and won't have to deal with weather again. Of course, last year they did, and it seems like you said since NBC took over the series, we've had to deal with it every week. But that'll be a fun one. Well, we're winding this down. We're into July now, and so we're kind of looking at the second half. Matt, what we've talked about a lot of the storylines. One that's still kind of confusing to me, although I just talked about my friend Tim Anderson getting designated for assignment by the Marlins. Just a couple years ago, 4 years ago, he's an all-star. 5 years ago, he was the American League batting champion. And at 31, he's out of a job. So it happens in sports. But Kyle Busch, do you see any end to the misery for the 8 this season? It just seems like it gets worse every week now, Matt.
Well, if you wanted to put his season, and actually since last June, under a microscope, look at what happened to him in Nashville. I mean, everything that he had pit problems, he had driving problems, and still he was running up top. I mean, it just showed his skills as a driver,
right,
to survive all of the mishaps that he occurred in the Ally 400 in Nashville. And yet he was there at the end. Kevin Harvick, good article online this morning I was reading about. He says, you know what? I'm kind of getting the feeling you better watch out for the 8. He's about to explode.
Okay.
And you know what happens when he does that? First of all, he's going to get on his crew and his engine builders and all that to put him in a better car, because he hadn't had good cars. But then he's going to start, grinding some sheet metal and swapping some paint, and he's going to find a way to victory lane. He has won a race in 19 consecutive years in NASCAR, and is going for 20. That would be a record. So it's like the quote was from Kevin Harvick, you better look out.
Another story that just continues to fly under the radar, a lot to do with the fact that they're not really competitive, but I still can't get over the fact that you've got a 7-time champion in Jimmie Johnson, who's running fairly regularly. I think it's scheduled to run again this weekend at Chicago, and it's just getting no play. Again, now, results could change that if he could get out and be in contention. But, I mean, I can't imagine that if Richard Petty were running a race, or Dale Earnhardt Sr., or even Dale Jr., who didn't win a single championship, if he had come back and was running races, or Carl Edwards, how is Jimmie Johnson just this is getting, you don't even know he's in the race. They don't ever even ISO the guy, man.
That's what's kind of crazy. You figure they'd get, if it was Dale Earnhardt Sr. out there running around the back of the pack, they'd be highlighting him, whether he was hitting the walls or not. And pardon me, as I stray and talk at the same time, I'm trying to look at the driver lineups or the entry list, and I do not see Jimmie Johnson.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I'm still scrolling through.
Well, the only reason I said that was I know he tweeted. He tweeted after Nashville and said that, hard-fought race, it just wasn't their day kind of thing, what he's been saying all year. He said, we'll rebound and get ready for Chicago. I do remember him saying that, but that doesn't mean that, it's guaranteed that he's going to run the race. But
it's so true. I could have missed it too easily because it's hard to scroll and talk for me anyway. But, no, it's an interesting story, and, you don't just take something out of the back of the garage and throw it onto a NASCAR track. That costs a lot of money. And I don't know if the teams are coming up with this just to get his sponsorship, if Jimmie Johnson's having to come out of pocket a little bit, just kind of, satisfy his hobby. I don't know what it is, but you're right. Even when he runs, like at Talladega in the spring race, he was out there running. You're watching it on TV, you're keeping up, but rarely is he spotlighted, which, by the way, that's not good for your sponsor if they don't show your car on the television.
No. So, and he had Family Dollar and Massey Motor Freight on his car in Nashville, so he picked up a couple of nice sponsors, so I guess he's still got a little clout there, but you're right, they're getting no play. I mean, I'm just kind of amazed. Again, I can't imagine, next year if Kevin Harvick said he was going to run a few races. I think people would be talking, man, but I just never seen it. It's just weird. It's it's like the way that he won 7 championships at one time, but it just, he had some tragedy in his life, and it's just like he just just not somebody that they want to focus on right now. It's a weird deal to me, but
he did get some attention, his first couple of races, but not really that much. And he is, and you hate to say this about a 7-time champion, he's a back marker.
Yeah, that's all he is right now.
Where did he finish in Nashville?
I don't know. It wasn't good. Hang on, I got it up. Hold on, I'll pull it up. And we'll find exactly where he finished. Hold on. But what's true too is, a street race is kind of a wild card race, and like we said, if he wants to get some attention, if he can be up near the front, maybe he'll. Who knows? Maybe he'll go to Chicago if he's in that. Let's see where he finished here.
I don't see he finished at all, which is even worse, I guess.
Maybe he ran. No, I don't see him. I don't see him listed, but maybe he ran the SAT. Maybe he ran the. Maybe he didn't run the cup.
Maybe he ran the Xfinity race.
Maybe he just ran the Xfinity race. Maybe that's what he said when he said poor finish. Maybe that's what it was. I don't see him. You're right. I don't see him at all. So. Anyway, we'll continue to track him. Maybe he'll make some news. All right, Matt, good stuff.
All right, always glad to have you back. Glad you had a good time, and thank you, Chase, and Roll Tide. We'll talk again next week.
All right, appreciate you sitting in for me. 9:50, and we're going to take our final break of the first hour, come back and wrap up this final segment. As I said, I was gone for a few days, and I guess my phone callers just said, you know what, we're done. Yeah, and of course, I know it's about to be 4th of July and all that, but we got, when phone lines are open, we'd love to hear from you. 205-342-9904. We'll be right back after this.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on our final show for the week, we're going to do a little free-for-all Wednesday presented by Brian Harden Construction. We're going to feature Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, Aaron Torres, Fox Sports, Josh Pate, 247 CBS, all starting at 2 p.m. with your phone calls right here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa.
Double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny, hot and humid today. A few spots could see a shower or storm this afternoon or this evening. The high today 96, the low tonight 75. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered storms around by afternoon. The high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:54. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Bumgarner with you for a few more minutes in this first hour. Then we'll get to the second hour. In that second hour, I am going to talk more Bama football recruiting. Of course, Edwards committing yesterday, but there are a number of players that Alabama's involved in that are expected to make announcements in the next several days. We'll run those down for you. No guarantee that Alabama's going to get these guys, but there are several players that Alabama is involved with that are going to be announcing decisions, and we are going to bring that update to you in the second hour of the program. All right, we got a couple minutes here to talk Bama football because we never want to get too far away from that. And I was talking yesterday about the fact that, this league has gone from 1992 from 10 teams to 12 teams, from 12 to 14, from 14 now to 16 with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. And, mathematical probabilities just let you know that everybody's not going to have a winning record. There's too many teams, And so the fact of the matter is that there are going to be some fan bases that by October already the shine's going to be off the season. It's just they're not going to be where they want to be. And there are going to be others maybe that are surprising some people and winning more games than they were expected to. And then there are going to be others that are just living up to the expectations, which is to be in the hunt for the national championship. It's always fun to see how this plays out. But 16 teams, man, everybody's trying to do the same thing, including Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's trying to win too, but maybe not quite with the same resources that everybody else in the league has. But everyone can't win. And that includes some of the big name teams. When you look at Alabama, you look at LSU, you look at Georgia, you look at Tennessee, you look at A&M, you look at Oklahoma, you look at Texas, you look at Ole Miss, the team they're expected to have. You look at all these teams that have high expectations and expecting to compete for championships. And even with a 12-team playoff, some of these teams are going to be left out. So it's going to be incredibly exciting and entertaining for me to watch this season and how it plays out and see the teams that the fan bases are happy. I think with the expanded playoff, there's even more pressure to get into the playoff. And if you're not in the playoff, there's even more of a sense of disappointment and failure. When it was just a BCS national championship game, there were only 2 teams that were playing for the national title. It was still a big deal to go to the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, or the Rose Bowl. You go to 4 teams, and the bowls aren't quite as big. Now with 12 teams in the playoff, if you're not in the playoff, is there a bowl game out there even that's going to generate enough buzz for your team and your fan base? I hope so. I like the bowls. I think the bowls are very important. But it's kind of going to be playoff or bust for some of these teams in the SEC. These top teams, they're geared toward the playoff, and if they don't make it, it is going to be a disappointing season, particularly for a team like Alabama, who dominated the playoff when it was 4 teams. And when Saban got to Alabama, really dominated the BCS until they went to the playoff. They were in the BCS championship game in 9, 11, 12, and close in 08, close in 13, and then they went to the playoff in 14. So if Alabama's not in the 12-team playoff, you can imagine what these fans are going to be feeling, and it won't be good. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the first hour. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a bit away banking. Find out more at alabamacu.com. Second hour is coming up right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports, so you keep it dialed in. Hour number 2 is on the way.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos, with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Kevin Wire.
Major piece of NBA news this morning as Adrian Wojnarowski, the first to report that LeBron James has agreed to a 2-year, $104 million max contract to return to the Los Angeles Lakers. The second year of that deal is a player option and includes a full no-trade clause. In tennis at Wimbledon, several matches in progress right now. Carlos Alcaraz currently tied with Alexander Vucic. They're in the first set tied at 5 games apiece. Daniil Medvedev trying to get himself back into his match with Alexandre Moller of France. He lost set number 1, 7-6. It is now currently tied at 5-5 in set number 2. On the women's side of things, Coco Gauff advances in a straight sets.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Tuscaloosa will once again celebrate the nation's independence when the celebration on the river returns to the Mercedes-Benz Amphitheater and local airwaves on Thursday. The annual 4th of July show will feature fireworks, kids' activities, live music from the Tuscaloosa Symphony Orchestra, and more at the Amphitheater. You can listen to the celebration on any Town Square Media radio station. Heat indexes are projected to be between 103 and 105 today. The National Weather Service in Birmingham has issued a heat advisory ending July 3rd.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. Everybody here, I'm Gary Harris. I got my main man, Chase Bumgarner, right there on the other side of the glass, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. Hasn't been any phone calls for me to take this morning. We had a couple that called in, but there was nobody there. I'm telling you, it's been slow since I got back from my little break. Of course, I get it again, 4th of July coming up and all that, but we'd love to hear from you in this second hour. You heard the spot there for the celebration on the river, 4th of July fireworks and more at the Mercedes-Benz Amphitheater coming up from 6 to 9 on the 4th of July. It's absolutely free, family-friendly event presented by the City of Tuscaloosa. Will include fireworks, kids' activities, live music by the Tuscaloosa Symphony Orchestra, and more. And I'll be the master of ceremonies for that event tomorrow night. So I'm looking forward to that. Great way to spend 4th of July. Beautiful there at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater. At the Mercedes-Benz Amphitheater right there on the Black Warrior River. You cannot beat it. So come on out tomorrow night and join me and many of your friends tomorrow night for that celebration. As I said, if you want to give us a ring, 205-342-9904. Yesterday, we had Gerhard Mathagani on from WKRG Channel 5 in Mobile. He and Simone Eli from Channel 5 had covered that Senior Bowl Hall of Fame banquet on Sunday night and then the Celebrity Golf Tournament on Monday. And on Monday, they were able to interview Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack, D'Amico Ryans, and Nate Oates. We played Womack and DeBoer for you yesterday. Alabama men's basketball coach, though, Nate Oates, taking the Crimson Tide to its first ever Final Four. And he was able to talk with WKRG. And we've got that interview for you now here on the Gary Harris Show. Here's Nate Oates.
Year in a row. First off, how's the golf game and how you play today?
The golf game's not good. This might be my first time out this year, so we'll see how the ball goes. It's a scramble, so I just got to hit one good shot every once in a while.
Yeah, made some history last year. First time ever Alabama's in the Final Four. What is the mindset going into this year and just some of the things you've been able to do throughout the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, it was good to get us to our first Final Four. Now we've had a little taste of it. Now we're trying to go back and win the whole thing is the goal. So we've got a roster put together that can. Obviously, with a one and done tournament, you got to be, as Danny Hurley said, very bulletproof to make your way through those 6 games. But we're gonna our defense needs to be a lot better next year. We've got a lot of guys coming back. We got a lot of 4th and 5th year guys that we've got on the team. So we've got some veteran leadership, and then we got some really good young kids too.
So got LeBaron Philon, one of the best kids from this area. How has he been able to kind of incorporate himself within the team and some of the ways that he's been able to develop so far?
Well, Barron's been great. I mean, he's come in, he's working hard, he's playing hard every day. He's been better than what we thought he was going to be, and we thought he was going to be pretty good.
So Aiden Holloway as well coming over. What are some of the things that you'll see from him and the rest of that backcourt?
Yeah, I mean, Aiden's shooting it well. There's going to be some depth back there. Those guys are going to make each other better all summer and fall, and I really have one of the deepest backcourts in the country.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks.
All right, good stuff there with Gerhard Mathagani from WKRG Channel 5 and Alabama basketball coach Nate Oates from Monday at that Senior Bowl Celebrity Golf Tournament down there at Point Clear, Alabama. All right, I had told you in the first hour that I was going to have a recruiting update for you in this second hour for Alabama football, and indeed, I'm going to follow up on that. We had Rodney Orr on Monday. We had Drew DeArmond yesterday, so most of this has already been covered, but let me tell you what we're watching for this week into the weekend with Alabama football on the recruiting trail. First of all, Caleb Edwards from El Dorado Hills, California, did commit yesterday over to choosing Alabama over Oregon and Texas. 6'6", 240-pound tight end, one of the top tight ends in the country. All right, today, Outside linebacker Justin Hill of Winton Woods, Ohio, there in the Cincinnati area. Winton Woods High School is slated to announce his decision between the big boys, Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, and USC. The Buckeyes are considered the team to beat, but Alabama and Oregon have both made strong impressions on Hill. And you know, when it comes to recruiting, you never count out Alabama. So we'll wait to see what happens with Justin Hill. Alabama's in the mix. That announcement is coming today. I'll see if I can find out the exact time for you on when he is supposed to commit. I'll check on that. On Friday, it will continue as far as players that Alabama is recruiting and hopes to receive commitments from this week, with Damian Shanklin, a 4-star defensive end out of Warren Central High School there in the Indianapolis, Indiana area. He is going to choose between Alabama, LSU, and Ohio State. And this is a situation where LSU is considered to be the favorite. But Ohio State has geography on its side, not being that far from Indianapolis. And Alabama received a really good visit from Shanklin, and the Tide feels like it made up some ground. So we'll see on Friday on Damian Shanklin. Now, just reading the tea leaves, and I don't follow this the way that I once did. I rely on the recruiting analyst to do it. But I used to follow recruiting very, very, very intensely back in the early 80s through the 90s, really through probably the early years of Saban. Then I just kind of accepted that Saban was going to recruit great every year. Didn't have to follow it as closely. But I used to be a avid recruiting follower. And you kind of get a feel for how these things go, even in the NIL era. Things are a little bit different, but so you never know for sure. But I just kind of feel like that both Hill and Shanklin will stick with their favorites. So I believe Hill will ultimately announce for Ohio State, and I believe Shanklin will announce for LSU. But I don't know that for sure. So we will track it, and we will see how it goes. But that's kind of what my vibe is right now, that Hill today will go ahead and announce for Ohio State, and that Shanklin on Friday will announce for LSU. Also, Floyd Boucard is a guy to watch. Defensive lineman from Miami Central High School. He is going to announce his decision sometime this month, and he's down to Alabama, Miami, Oklahoma, and USC. Now, he was at Mobile Christian previously with Ronnie Cottrell, and former Alabama recruiting coordinator. And he's a guy that Rodney Orr told us he thinks is underrated. 6'3", about 310, 315 in that range. If you look at the ranking, the star ranking, he's only a 3-star. But Rodney Orr told me last night on Tider Insider TV that he thinks this guy is much better than that. And that you need to watch this guy move up as we go through his senior season in 2024. And I think Rodney feels like Boucard is a guy to watch strongly with Alabama. All right, other Alabama targets that we have talked about here on the show, slated to make announcements here in July, including 5-star offensive lineman Ty Haywood from Denton, Texas. Alabama's considered the leader for Ty Haywood. 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham from over in Mississippi is a guy that Alabama's considered the favorite for as well. The outstanding running back from Quitman, Mississippi, Kylan Deere, is considered to be an Alabama lean, even though he is a guy that Ole Miss has had committed. Feeling is that he is ultimately going to wind up at Alabama. If you read the recruiting analyst, Derek Meadows is another 5-star wide receiver that Alabama's in the mix with, as well as four-star safety Ivan Taylor. Now, Haywood is the guy that it would be out of all those guys I just mentioned, and don't get me wrong, we talked about some outstanding prospects. But to get a 5-star offensive tackle to cap off what might be the best offensive line class in the country, Haywood is huge. One time it was felt like he would wind up at Oklahoma. He's from Denton, Texas. But now the feeling is that Alabama is the team to beat there. Cunningham, who is a guy that when he takes a visit, he seems to have a really good time at that school, and they seem to be the leader. But he's been projected to go to Alabama. He's also considering Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. And as I said, a lot of the recruiting analysts have projected him to announce for Alabama here pretty soon. We will see. Meadows is down, it appears, to Alabama and Notre Dame. And then Deere, who I said had been committed to Ole Miss, but decommitted and is expected to, I don't even know if you call it a flip now. I might have said flip earlier. I guess since he's decommitted from Ole Miss, it would just be an announcement for Alabama sometime here in the near future. Now, Ivan Taylor, the 4-star safety, is committed currently to Notre Dame, but he visited Alabama and Michigan in recent weeks, and Alabama feels like they have a good opportunity for a flip there. So as good as it's been, it looks like it's only going to get better for Alabama. I'm feeling now this Alabama class may have as many as 27, 28, 29 commits in it. And if you want to kind of peek ahead into August, Khalid Lockett, the 5-star wide receiver from Texas, is going to announce his decision on August the 7th. And Alabama and Texas are the favorites there, with Florida State, LSU, and Texas A&M in the mix. So, Chase, I just kind of went through a pretty thorough update right there. You can see where this is headed for Alabama. I mean, Nick Saban's no longer the coach, but Alabama may wind up with a number 1 ranked recruiting class. If some of these other players that we've talked about wind up committing to Alabama, they may bypass everybody. It's amazing what Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, and this staff are doing on the recruiting trail when you compare it against the standard, which is Nick Saban, and the fact that so many people were saying Alabama was going to drop off in recruiting. It has not happened.
All I heard was a cold summer the past couple of weeks. Everybody, even friends I talked to who were Alabama friends, true, they just did not believe in Kalen DeBoer. And I kept saying, like, look, he can recruit. The fact that he was able to do what he did at Washington, it's astounding. And I think this is foretelling for years to come. And, like, he is the real deal. And I think when you see when this upcoming season, like, this is going to really excite, like, people in high school that is looking to play, like, at a top D1 school. And Alabama is going to be number 1 because Kalen DeBoer is doing it. Well,
that's the thing, too. And Courtney Morgan's taking that cold summer and turned that into the theme, man. We're freezing. And it's unbelievable. It really is. I'm even surprised. Not that they're recruiting well. I never believed the Husky Harsin bull crap or some other things that were being said that he wouldn't be able to relate to kids. But I did not expect this type of recruiting momentum to the point where they're in the conversation for another number 1 ranked class. And based on the information that I just gave you, if some of these guys, including starting today with Justin Hill, if he were to announce for Alabama, the momentum would just be out the roof. All right, it's 10:15 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to take a time out. As I said, I'd love to hear from some of my callers, man. I'm back from a little mini vacation. We won't be here tomorrow or Friday. Light up the phone lines on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. And when we come back, I see that we've got a special guest in the building, Bill Taylor. Everybody that lives in Tuscaloosa, if you don't know Bill, you need to. Just a special person. He was in there with Steve and DC on 95.3 The Bear earlier singing to get us ready for the 4th of July. And I tell you what we're going to do. we are going to let Bill sing here on the Gary Harris Show coming up on the other side. You ready to go, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Just give me a thumbs up. Hang on. We got to get to the break. But we're going to let BT sing. Is it going to be, what's the song you're going to do?
God Bless USA.
God Bless the USA, which is a Lee Greenwood song, right? So Bill Taylor in studio.
Tidwell Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor with over 26 years experience in Tuscaloosa. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-2503.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny, hot and humid today. A few spots could see a shower or storm this afternoon or this evening. The high today 96, the low tonight 75. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered storms around by afternoon. The high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 87 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Where the season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, we're back here on the Gary Harris Show, trying to get set up here for Bill Taylor. And I had to run downstairs for a second, so I ran back up those stairs, and I got to get my breath back, BT. All right, as I was saying before we went to the break, Bill Taylor is a local treasure. Many of you know him. I've known him for,
44 years.
Yeah, from when I worked back at WDBB, back for David DeBose, who runs this station back in the mid-1980s. And you knew me and Lindsey Hall and Gus Herder and Glenn Stewart and all of us. And, of course, good friends with Kip Tyner and many others here. For several years, BT has come up to the TV station every Christmas and sang Ho Holy Night.
Oh, yeah.
And another one of your favorites for the 4th of July is God Bless the USA. And you just sang it over on the Bear 95.3 with Stephen D.C. And you've been on my show before and sang. And we're just going to do this a cappella. We don't even have any music. This is how BT much loves this song. Usually when we do it at the TV station, we'll have music in the background. But you did it a cappella on the Bear, didn't you, Bill?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to have a special 4th of July treat right now with Bill Taylor, local treasure, singing. Is the audio okay over there, Chase? Can you hear Bill? Or do you want to put him on my mic? He is good? Okay. All right, anytime you're ready, Bill, God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood.
I'm proud to be an American, at least I know I'm free. Won't forget the man who died, who gave it right to me. Gladly stand up next to you, and I feel her still today. 'Cause ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plain to Texas, sea to shiny sea, Detroit down to Houston, New York to L.A., pride in every American heart. It's time we stand and say, I'm proud to be American, at least I know I'm free. Won't forget the man who died, who gave it right to me. Glad we stand up next to you, and I feel her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless USA. I'm proud to be an American, and at least I know I'm free. Won't forget the man who died, who gave it right to me. Gladly stand up next to you, and I feel her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Oh, yeah. Give it Let's get that applause going. All right, BT. There to go, man. You absolutely... Give me a fist bump on that one.
Oh, I will, buddy.
By the way, Matt Coulter texted Bill and said to tell you hello.
Huh?
Matt Coulter just texted me and said to make sure I told you hello.
Tell Matthew I said hello.
Yeah, he's listening. You just, buddy, that was a great song. Hey, I found out, Chase, too, when I went over to Stephen DC's studio, that was when we had the little power flash surge. That was BT. BT hit a note over there in the Bear studio, and Stephen DC said the power surge.
Okay, that's awesome.
Bill, man, your voice was strong this morning, buddy.
I appreciate that.
You were ready.
Drunk a lot of water.
Well, you absolutely. And I even shot a little video that I'm gonna put on social media there, man. I'm glad because Bill called me last night at the TV station. Chase, I'd forgotten all about it. And said that he was coming up to sing on with Stephen DC this morning. And I told him, I said, well, come by and see me after you sing over there, and maybe we can get you on. And then I'd forgotten all about it. So I'm glad that you were here, Bill.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate that, Gary. You do this every year.
We love having you on. Are you going to be able to make it out to the celebration on the river tomorrow night?
I probably won't go. I'll probably stay watch on TV or something.
Okay. All right, Bill. I'll tell you what. Just hang tight, and we'll get to the break and get you up and get you out of here. In the meantime, I'm going to take a phone call because Philip's waiting to visit with us on the Pinnacle Park at the North River Hotline. Just hold tight for just a minute, okay? When we get to the break, I'm going to get you on out of here.
That's fine.
Just sit. Hey, Philip, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. Hey, man, I just wanted to say I was proud you got to go on vacation. You've had a tough summer and a busy summer. I was glad you got to go to the beach for a little bit. And I hope you are ready to get going because after next week, the ball gets rolling big time. You've got the media days coming up and all that.
You will be, the time to reset the batteries will have to be over. I have to have them reset because once we kick off SEC Media Days, Philip, we're going full speed ahead. But I appreciate you saying that. And it was nice to get away for a few days because, as I've said, as long as my mom was, I wasn't going to take a vacation and be off somewhere when so I couldn't plan anything. And then when she passed, I really still hadn't planned anything. And then some good friends of mine here in town said, you know what, why don't you just go down and stay at our condo for a few days and I said, you know what, I'll take you up on that. So, very nice. Yeah. So it worked out really well. And it does get, did you catch, were you listening to BT singing, Proud to Be an American? God Bless the USA?
I did. And tell him I said thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Phillips, regular callers, man. He enjoyed that too.
Yeah. Tell him I said thanks. And you guys be safe. And Gary, y'all keep Chase sort of grounded. I don't think he realizes what's going to hit him here in a few weeks, but he'll be okay.
Yeah, he's coming along. Like I said, we're kind of, I give Chase credit for this. He, Wyatt had a few days there training him, and then we just kind of turned him loose. So he's learning on the fly, but he's pretty sharp. He'll get it. Hey, thank you, Philip. Real quick, you usually call in now. You've given us. I can't let you get off the phone. Give me one. You're known for your bold predictions. So give me something real quick before we hang up.
Well, I think my bold prediction, I know, and I've said this to you before, I know this is a Bama station. I get it. I got that down pat. But I think Auburn is going to be surprisingly good.
Well, I hope you're wrong, because last week you nailed it on Missouri, and they were really good, and you said they'd be really good. And now you think Auburn's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think they're going to be better than advertised. I think they're going to be 5-0 to start the season. Now, they'll probably take their first L when they play Georgia on the road after those 5 games. But if they can withstand that second half of the season, they could go into the Iron Bowl with a pretty good record. Now, Alabama, has got LSU and Tennessee on the road. That's the only thing that's sort of holding me back from fully inserting Alabama in the playoffs. Although I will say I think Alabama is on the edge of getting into the 12-team playoffs, and that's just my feelings. I just enjoy doing this.
Well, I love it when you make a pick. And like I said, last year, everybody's on Missouri's bandwagon now. We'll see how they hand up. But last year when you called in, there was nobody on the Missouri bandwagon. I remember you calling in, and I think you said Missouri was going to go win 10 games. And I was like, Philip, I don't know about this one. But but man, you nailed it. So I have had to give you your props on that one. I will tell you this, as somebody that covers Alabama with all our Alabama fans listening, I hope you're wrong on Auburn. But you know what? You might be right. They're kind of under the radar a little bit, and that might be a good place for them. Hey, good to hear from you, Philip.
Hey, that's cool, man.
All right, thank you. All right, it's 10:27 here on the Gary Harris Show. Of course, holiday time, a lot of people, not just us here at Tide. We're going to be off tomorrow and Friday. We'll be working Friday at the TV station, but the weekend's coming up. A lot of people have a long weekend. Of course, a lot of that swimming and cookouts and fireworks. Well, a lot of people want to play golf, too. And a hidden gem in Tuscaloosa is Tall Pines Golf Course. 5604 Woodland Forest Drive. It's the Woodland Forest Country Club there in that beautiful neighborhood in East Tuscaloosa. Brand new greens. They've got putting greens. They've got a driving range. They've got a great clubhouse. And, yes, they've got a refurbished swimming pool. If you're interested in becoming a member, they have memberships, but if you just want to play a round of golf, they're open for public play. All the good folks out there at Tall Pines, they've been great to me. I'd love for you to try it out. 205-556-1232 to book a tee time, 205-556-1232. Tall Pines Golf Course. They're in the beautiful Woodland Forest neighborhood. Give them a try, and those new greens have come in nicely. It's a fun track and a lot of good folks out there that you can join on the golf course. All right, we're going to get the time out. I want to thank Bill again for coming in here. We're going to make a couple pictures with Bill for social media.
$99. Click into power with 4th of July savings now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select and stock items by 4 p.m. subject to availability.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:31. Man, we were just having a big time here today. We've had a little bit of everything going on. We've had a power surge. We've had Bill Taylor in the studio singing God Bless the USA. Also sang over there with Steve in D.C. on 95.3 The Bear. Been running a little bit out of sorts this morning, but we've had some fun. And multitasking is what it's all about. This is sometimes in the radio business, you just got to go with the flow, and that's what we've been able to do. Was good to hear from Phillip and his bold prediction that Auburn's going to be better than people think this year. I don't know. We'll have to see, but I do think that they've got a pretty good team. All right, it is 10:31 here on the Gary Harris Show. And DeMeco Ryans, what a great football player he was. I covered him his entire career at Alabama. I remember when he came out of Jess Lanier High School in Bessemer. Dennis Franchione, interesting recruiting story here for you older fans. DeMeco Ryans was at Jess Lanier High School nearby Bessemer, and I knew he was a really good football player. And I had talked to some other people who knew he was a good football player, but he was not. Dennis Franchione was the head coach at Alabama at the time, and he was not recruiting DeMeco that intensely. And Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com had gone and watched DeMeco play and just raved about him. And so he called Fran. He called Coach Fran and said, Fran, are you recruiting DeMeco Ryans? He's just an outstanding player. And Fran said, well, we've heard good things about him, but, they had him listed at like 5'11" and 195 pounds. And Rodney's like, no, he's 6'1", about 220. And Fran told Rodney, he said, really? Rodney said, yeah, I watched him. I just watched him Friday night. He said, all right, I'll get my couple of my coaches up to see him. They went to watch him one time and offered him. As soon as they saw him play in person, they were like, we got to get this guy. So he commits to Alabama. He signs with Alabama. He is a 4-year star at Alabama. We're not talking about good player. We're talking about great All-American, won the Lott Award, just one of the best players and best student athletes in Alabama football history. And then, of course, he goes on to be the Rookie of the Year for the Houston Texans. Later played with the Eagles, played 10 years in the NFL, and now he's the head coach of the Houston Texans. And all they did last year was come off the deck with a rookie quarterback and win the AFC South and then win a playoff game. And now they're a team that people are talking about for the Super Bowl. You're not supposed to do that with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. You're just not. It's not the way it works in the NFL. And they had both. So everybody, I think, felt good about DeMeco Ryans. They love him there in Houston. but he's a rookie head coach. He'd never been a head coach at any level. He'd been a defensive coordinator with the 49ers. He was highly thought of, but there were a lot of people that said, yeah, there are going to be some growing pains with DeMeco Ryans. And then you draft C.J. Stroud, and you know he's talented. But you remember this, Chase. A lot of people said, well, he didn't score well on one of those academic tests, and you know, it's going to be a tough go for him. All he did was just light it up. They were phenomenal. DeMeco Ryans inducted into the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame, played in the golf tournament. Here is not a very long interview because he had to get off and tee off and play, but here's a little bit from DeMeco Ryans on Monday down at Point Clear.
First off, congratulations. What's this been like being able to officially get inducted to the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame?
It's truly a blessing to get inducted to a game that I watched as a kid growing up and had the fortune to play in. And I think 18 years ago, you're not thinking about the Hall of Fame and what's after it, but I'm very grateful for the Senior Bowl and the opportunities that it's afforded a ton of athletes like myself to showcase their talents for stepping up to the next level. So it's done a great job. Jim has done a great job of growing the game and his staff. Like really now as I coach, it's a game that's a must watch for me again. It's on a different lens, but when it comes to scouting all the college players, it's a game I have to watch.
Absolutely. You've been so far so many places in the NFL and in college football, still representing Alabama here. How much does the program mean to you and the next step now going from Coach Saban to Coach DeBoer?
Yeah, Alabama means everything to me. It's hometown. It's my team. Very, with what Coach Saban has done, it's unmatched. Right, one of the best football coaches, right, ever to ever do it. And now Coach DeBoer, I'm excited for him and him being able to take over the program and do it his way. He's been successful at every stop that he's been at, so I'm looking forward to his success here at Alabama. I know he's going to do an outstanding job.
Last thing, how's the golf game?
Not good.
All right, good stuff. Hey, one thing you've heard all these coaches say when asked about their golf game, not good. And there's a funny story behind that, Chase. That goes all the way back when Coach Stallings was here working for Coach Bryant. He also coached the golf team.
Wow.
And he was an excellent golfer. But somewhere along the line, it kind of became, if you were good at golf, people were concerned because they were like, how can if he's good at golf, he's playing too much golf. So when Steve Sloan was the AD at Alabama, he was an excellent golfer, and he tried to play fairly regularly, but he didn't want writers writing that he was good at golf because Coach Bryant had always said, if you show me a football coach that's good at golf, I'll show you a football coach that's a bad football coach. But seriously, most of these coaches, they don't have a lot of time to play. But Steve Spurrier around was an excellent golfer, and he was an excellent coach. So we've seen that. But a lot of coaches are really paranoid about talking about being really good at golf. But, Coach Saban's actually a pretty good golfer and was a fairly good golfer back when he was coaching at Alabama. So anyway, wanted to run that sound for you. All right, 10:37 here on the Gary Harris Show, and never could come up with that second guest this morning. Again, it's July 3rd, right before the holiday. A lot of people are getting ready for the holiday and not wanting, I guess, to be on talk radio this morning. So we're guest free the rest of the way. If you want to give us a ring here on the Pinnacle Park in North River hotline, 205-342-9904. We would love to hear from you. We had Nate Oates on earlier, again, talking about, he said his golf game is the first time he'd played this year. But Alabama basketball, as I have discussed here on the program, Alabama football is always 12 months out of the year. You can discuss it in January. You can discuss it in June. You can discuss it in March. You can discuss it in August. It's 12 months out of the year. You always talk Alabama football. Basketball, men's basketball, not so much. I mean, it's when they've been good, yeah, but I would always say Alabama men's basketball was really, even during when the season first started, we were still talking tons of football. I'd say Alabama basketball traditionally has been more of a January through March type of discussion. It's been seasonal. It hasn't been those days are over. Alabama men's basketball is 12 months out of the year. It's just like football right now. You can discuss it any day of the week, any month that I'm in here on the radio. If I'm talking Alabama basketball, nobody is going to call me and say, "What are you doing talking basketball?" Nobody's going to say, I don't want to hear about that basketball. That's not the case anymore. I can talk at any time. So I enjoy that. I love that. I love what's happening with Alabama men's basketball. I think Nate Oates is going to win a national championship here. He was within 2 wins of it a year ago. He's had 3 teams that were Final Four caliber. Only one of them made it, but the Herb Jones team, the Brandon Miller team, those were Final Four caliber teams. They just didn't make it. Last year's team did. And last year's team, out of those 3, I would say that was the third team on the list. But that was the team that made it. Now this year, again, when I'm looking at this roster and I'm looking at the returnees in Sears, Nelson, Reichel Jr., Diabate, and Stevenson, those are 5 really good players. Then you add in the transfers in Youngblood and Amori and Millette and Holloway. Then you bring in the freshmen. It just keeps getting better and better. Darion Reed, Aiden Sherrill, LeBaron Philon, Naz Cunningham. And you put that 13-man group together, and you've got a roster that is as talented as any in the country, in my opinion, on paper. Now, you got to go out and you got to play. You got to become a team. But when you just look at those 13 players that I just called out, 5 returnees, let's see how many transfers. Five players back from last year. Then you've got Youngblood, Amori, Millette, Holloway. That's 4 transfers and 4 freshmen. So you got 5 returnees, 4 transfers, 4 freshmen. 13 players making up the roster, and it's one of the most talented rosters in the country. So game on. You get into football, going to be watching what Coach DeBoer is able to do in his first season, but there is going to be a lot of interest, even during this football season, in regards to Alabama men's basketball and what the Tide is capable of doing. We're going to be talking about it all through football season, too. And then when Alabama starts playing in November, there's going to be a ton of interest. So hopefully by November, Alabama football is in contention to make it to Atlanta for the SEC championship, in contention to get into the college football playoff. And then you get Alabama men's basketball doing its thing. It could be as good as it gets. You could have, we had it last year. I mean, Alabama, I think, let's see, right off the top of my head, I could tell you had Alabama, Michigan, Texas, and Washington in the college football playoff. Yeah, Alabama was the only team to have, or the only program to have teams in the Final Four and the college football playoff. How special is that? And I think that could happen again this year, this season. You could have Alabama in the college football playoff and Alabama in the Final Four. And hopefully national championship. What if you have national championships in both? And potentially that could happen. Alabama's good enough in football, and they're good enough in basketball to potentially win national championships. So that's going to be pretty cool. All right, it's 10:43 here on the Gary Harris Show. Before we get to the break, I want to remind you about my friends at Los Tarascos, best Mexican restaurants in town, locations in Tuscaloosa on Skyland Boulevard and in Northport, and now a new location downtown at Timerson Square. That's right. Los Tarascos is downtown right there in the Timerson Square Entertainment District, open for lunch and dinner nightly. 3 locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport. Los Tarascos, authentic Mexican fare. Check them out and try out that new location downtown at Timerson Square. All right, we're going to be back with the final segment of the Gary Harris Show. We, as I said, are open for phone calls, and we'll get to J-Rob on the other side. As J-Rob waiting hold tight for us, J-Rob, we'll lead off with you when we come back on the other side of the Gary Harris Show, right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on our final show for the week, we're going to do a little free-for-all Wednesday presented by Brian Harden Construction. We're going to feature Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, Aaron Torres, Fox Sports, Josh Pate, 247 CBS, all starting at 2 p.m. with your phone calls right here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa.
We've lowered prices on many summer faves like Up and Up Sunscreen, Tillamook Ice Cream, Honest Kids Juice Boxes, and more. Target's 4th of July sale ends Saturday. Restrictions apply.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours.
To help you red, white, and do any other jobs you've been putting off. It's everything you need to get back on the road at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny, hot and humid today. A few spots could see a shower or storm this afternoon or this evening. The high today 96, the low tonight 75. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered storms around by afternoon. The high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 89 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Your home for Alabama Crimson Tide football. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:46, one final segment of the Gary Harris Show. And listen, it's been a different kind of show today. They're not all, and you do as many shows as I do, they're not all perfect. And today we've had some, but it's been fun. I mean, we've kind of, Chase and I have just kind of gone with the flow here. And it was great to have Bill Taylor in. In fact, I'm getting a lot of text from people, saying how much they enjoy BT singing on our show. And I'm going to put out a little clip of him later on social media. So glad that we could do that. But we're out tomorrow and Friday, but Monday we'll be back full speed, ready to go. Right now, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and talk with J-Rob. Good morning, J-Rob. J-Rob, you there? J-Rob, you with me? I guess he's gone. J-Rob's gone. I guess he wanted to talk to Chase because he talked to Chase for about 4 or 5 minutes. So, all right, if something happened, J-Rob, that we cut you off and you want to call back in, you can. We're gonna get through to this morning. That is for sure. Hey, I didn't even mention the Braves last night. They lose to the Giants at home 5-3. Braves got back-to-back home runs in the second from I can't even remember. Austin Riley, and then, there's something phone ringing back in there. Let's see here. Who was the guy that hit the other home run for the Braves? Sean Murphy. Yeah, they went back-to-back in the second with Riley and Murphy to take 2-0 lead, but the Giants came back. Giants wound up hitting 3, got back-to-back home runs in the 5th, and they got a solo shot in the 9th. Giants win it 5-3. So the Braves right now are playing okay. They're not playing great, and the Phillies look like the class of the NL East right now, but you never know. You play out the entire season. We've seen the Braves come back, but right now as we go into tonight's action, the Braves are 9 back of the Phillies in the NL East. Braves are 46-37. The Phils, best record in baseball at 56-29. All right, we're going to try RV again. Let's see if we can get to RV this morning. RV is with us now. RV, good morning.
Got me okay?
Yeah, bring him up a little bit, Chase.
All right.
All right, yeah, we got you. Listen, like I said, RV, we're kind of going with the flow this morning. It's we're getting through it though, but we got you. Good, go ahead. How are you?
Okay, yeah, man, I know all about that. Well, first of all, you had a milestone birthday last week, so happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
And then of course Matt Coulter was on there, and he's been around a long time too. So it made me start to thinking, how many years now, Gary, you've been doing sports as far as being paid to do sports? How many years has it been?
Well, I started, I'm almost embarrassed to say this because sometimes I think I started too young. My first TV job was in 1982 at WHMA Channel 40, the CBS affiliate in Anniston, Alabama. I started football season of 82, and I've been working as a broadcaster ever since. So, yeah, I'm 60 years old, and I've been working in broadcasting for 42 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, this is what my question is. In those 42 years, we'll put you on the spot here. What would you say were the top 3 football stories that you covered, and what would be the top 3 basketball stories that you covered in those 42 years?
Well, because I was able to start at such a young age and actually cover Alabama football in Coach Bryant's final year, 1982. I went to covered Alabama and Auburn both that year. And so the biggest story right off the bat in football, even though I wasn't there in Tuscaloosa for the press conference, Mike Scruggs, who I worked for, was. The first one would be Coach Bryant's retirement. That was the first huge story that I was a part of as a young sports reporter. And so and that's still any of the top 3 sports stories that I'm going to have. Coach Bryant's retirement is going to be in the top 3. There's no doubt about it as far as football. Okay. I guess now I'd have to put Coach Saban taking the Alabama job. Yeah. And then doing what he did and staying for 17 years when people were, and even I said, if you get 5 good years out of Nick Saban, it's probably going to be, program's going to be better for it. But he stayed 17, won 6 national championships, won 9 SEC titles, and then kind of retired and caught us off guard. So that's there. So you got Bryant and Saban are 2 of the 3. The other, let me see if I can get off on football and see if there's something a little bit outside, maybe from somewhere else that I've worked or something. Because those 2, Bryant and Saban, have to be 1 and 2, or Saban and Bryant in that order, whatever order you want to get them, because I was able to cover both those guys. So third might be, I tell you what, this is one that people won't recognize, but when I was working in Jackson, Mississippi, I would say this at the time, because this was a huge story over there, but you know how Mississippi is. It doesn't have, football-wise, they love it over there, but it doesn't carry the national prestige that Alabama and Auburn do. So when you have a State and Ole Miss, but that is a nasty rivalry. I think people in recent years have just seen how nasty that Egg Bowl is. But when Jackie Sherrill took the job at Mississippi State and Billy Brewer was at Ole Miss, I was working in Jackson, Mississippi for a really famous sportscaster named Michael Rubenstein, who, if you lived in Mississippi, he was like Herb Winches used to be here for people that go way back. I mean, he was the guy. And he lined it up. This was very unusual, but the Thursday night before the Egg Bowl in 1991, Michael Rubenstein was able to get Jackie Sherrill and Billy Brewer to go on live via satellite with an uplink in Oxford and Sherrill and Starkville, and it might have been, I think it was Thursday. I think it was 2 nights before the Egg Bowl. They went on together, and you imagine what a big deal that was. And then on the air, they got into a little bit of a back and forth, and Billy Brewer called Jackie Sherrill a liar on the air. And if I remember correctly, didn't just call him a liar, but called him a blank liar. And that made huge news over there, and rightfully so. So I'll put that in there as the third, and there have been others in football, obviously, but basketball-wise, the biggest one has got to be Alabama going to Final Four, right? I mean, what's bigger than that? So that's one. I was working in Mississippi when this happened. This was really a big one. I just found the exact quote because I guess he said habitual liar and not D-A-M-N liar, just habitual liar. But anyway, another big one that I covered was the Antonio McDyess recruitment. His mom wanted him to go to Mississippi State. There was a lot of chatter that Mississippi State had brokered a deal with the mom, but he wanted to go to Alabama. And RV, I don't know if you remember this, McDyess held out. He really came to Alabama because he wanted to go, because everyone in Mississippi had made arrangements for him to go to Mississippi State, and he bucked that. And he came to Alabama. So that was a huge basketball story. You want me to come up with one more, I guess probably two. When I was first starting out in Anniston, and even the first time that I worked here in Tuscaloosa at the WDBB in the mid-'80s, a big one was the Alabama-Auburn basketball rivalry with Wimp and Sonny. Wimp and Sonny became friends, but and Wimp talked about it this morning. Nobody worked harder to beat Auburn or had more resentment for Auburn than he did. And just that rivalry, how that
became because we look at it now, but Alabama and Auburn were both good in the mid 80s too, with Alabama and Wimp and Auburn and Sonny, 1986, Auburn came within a win of the Final Four. They lost to Never Nervous Purvis Ellison in Louisville, and Louisville went on to win the national championship, and Alabama was a perennial Sweet 16 team. So those are some just right off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, I just want to go down memory lane. I know you had that milestone birthday, so I wish you many more.
Well, thank you, RV. Good to hear from you, man. Perfect timing too. So we're about to wrap it up. Thanks for the phone call. It's 10:55 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we are winding it down. I do want to continue to plug my advertisers as we get ready to go into the holiday. Who's Q and Brew. Talk about them often here on the program. They've got some unbelievable deals, specials daily. Also, Brick and Spoon. If you're looking for breakfast, lunch, or brunch downtown at Timerson Square, they're awesome as well. And, of course, my friends at Innisfree, they're closed for a couple of days for the Final Four for the 4th of July. See, basketball's on my mind now. Same with Billy's. They're going to be closed for a few days for the 4th of July, but all those places that are, I'm patrons of them. I'd love for you to try them as well. And in fact, a reminder on Innisfree, people understand how much fun it is at night, but don't forget the great meat and three that they have. I encourage people, and in fact, people thank me often when they go to Innisfree for lunch. They say, man, that meat and three really is good. I said, yeah, it is the real deal. That is for sure. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We want to thank all of our listeners and for bearing with us this morning. We kind of had, Chase and I kind of had a few little bumps in the road here, but we got through it. Great sports talk all day long here. T-Town Sports Daily coming up at 11 a.m. The Miller's Edge. I was listening to some of the Miller's Edge yesterday, Chase, and those guys, Christian and Corey, are going back and forth a little bit on Alabama.
I was like, am I supposed to be here? Like I know they're father and son, but I was like, okay, let me just back up because I was reading the messages. I was like, please, it's not me.
Yeah, they've got differing opinions on the job that Christian DeBoer is going to do at Alabama. I think Christian feels like that DeBoer is going to be really, really good, and I think Corey thinks Alabama's going to struggle some this year. So that'll be fun. And, of course, obviously in the evening or in the afternoons, Ryan Fowler afternoon drive with the game, always very entertaining. Some of the best guests that you're going to hear anywhere from 2 until 6. And like I said, we'll be out tomorrow. We'll be out Friday, but we'll be back with all local sports talk on Monday. So have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the 4th of July. Again, I'll be at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater tomorrow night for the celebration on the river, 4th of July celebration. It's free. Great family event with the Tuscaloosa Symphony, Marymatics, fireworks, and more coming up tomorrow night. So join me out there and catch me on TV tonight with the local sports on WVUA 23. So for Chase, I'm Gary. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll get you on to T-Town Sports Daily coming up at 11 a.m. Have a great day.